Hey Les, it's that time of week. Shirt, please. You
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're the modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. Let's ride with the family down the street, through the courtesy of Fritz and Pete. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba-dabba-doo time. A dabba-doo time. We'll have a gay
stop it. Cue the real titles, you piece of shit. There's no way I'm wearing this for the whole of the show. What's on the show today, folks?
Well, today, Gary, we talk about that twat Gary Lineker. Then we move on to Gazzers' historic news with Jimmy Savile, who gets the keys to the house. Then we move on to the news section, which was Croquet, but now it's Before They Die section. And today we have a whiz one there, Gary. We're talking about an artist and a singer from the 60s and 70s who had 3 legs. And finally, a new section, Food for Thought.
So today we're going to have a look at Gary Lineker and that tweet post. What? Well, he wears glasses to try and look intelligent, and so will I. But first, before we get into his tweet thing that he did, let's have a look at his massive, massive career over 40 years. Wind it in, Les.
So this is how Gary Lineker got trashed in the newspapers by saying a Nazi tweet, when actually he didn't. There's no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than other major European countries. This is just an immeasurable, cruel policy directed at most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to that used by the Nazis, by the Germans in the 1930s. And am I out of order? Hang on, this is the 1930s. I didn't see this happening in the UK.
November 9th,
What?
The Nazi Party orchestrated an outbreak of
Is this what Gary
anti-Jewish
Lineker's
violence
talking about? Look at the
in
unemployment,
Germany.
22%. Do you think they will have an immigration policy?
Jews faced increasingly restrictive immigration quotas in most countries and bureaucratic hurdles.
And there we have it.
All right, that last piece was a bit extreme, but it actually highlights, in my opinion, what was going on in Germany in the 1930s. So they're hardly going to have an immigration policy by bringing people into the country, which they're going to take to the death camps later on in the late 30s, early 40s, are they? So they're not going to have an immigration policy, and for Lineker to compare the two is just absolutely nonsense. Now, I'm going to give you some stats here, because Gary Lineker's saying we don't have many coming into the country. In 2000, I'm writing everything down now, I'm getting more professional, I'm doing some studying. In 2022, 45,755 men, women, children and babies came into the UK. They're expected to exceed 80,000 this year. Now the government say on each single person, because they're humane, they are actually given each person £45, and that's just to live on. That's not all the food expenses and hotels and everything else, which we know in the UK is getting overrun anyway. 80,000 this year. So for Lineker, compare Germany, that's absolute nonsense. So now the new bill, I'm leading on to food of thought. And it says here, the new bill is aimed at sending anybody back to Rwanda or any other country, this is a government statement, that arrives in small boats. Now, they arrive in small boats from France. Cue food for thought after we just do an advert for our sponsor, our first sponsor, and have a look at the guy at the end. Cool. Go on, Les, get on with it. Took me half an hour to do this last one.
These potatoes are for the crisp makers. Here they won't come up.
We're too good to be any old crisp. We wanna be Smith's Crisp. We wanna be Smith's Crisp. We're not budging until we make you see that if we were Smith's Crisp, if we were Smith's Crisp, what tasty, light and golden crisp we'd be.
I better phone Smith's.
We wanna be Smith's Crisp.
Smith's Crisps. So good, every potato wants to be one.
Food for thought. So, boys and girls, it's Gary, by the way. So, boys and girls, it says from the government website, the new bill is aimed at sending anybody back to Rwanda or any other country that arrives in small boats to the UK. So let's see how far they have to go before they get to the UK, shall we? So we go across there, we go across there. Let's have a look. We're going across there. Chad, Nigeria, Libya. Yeah, oh, I get that. And then those probably go across Portugal. Then they go Spain, France. Then obviously France, they're going to just get to France and then cross there into the UK. Am I missing something? When is there a safe country? Anywhere. But it's got to be the UK. It's just food for thought, folks.
Now, the new section, it was the old section last week, which was before they croquet. Now is this week, it's now called... What's it called, Liz? I've forgotten. Oh, Before They Die. Cue the title. So today in Before They Die, we celebrate a guy who was born in good old Perth, Australia in 1930. He performed on many shows through the 60s and 70s in variety performances, and he also for a short time had his own TV show. Then in the 80s he had another TV show which was a cartoon show, basically how to draw cartoons. So he was a very, very talented man. He had a wobble board, he had 3 legs, and he had this xylophone thing that he used to advertise on TV as well. And the biggest part was him doing a portrait of, God bless her, the Queen. Now, his name, of course, is good old Rolf Harris. So let's... What, Les? What? He did what? 14-year-old, a sex pest? The Queen gave back his portrait? So today in Before They Die, But They Are Dead, is I can't think of anyone. Les, I can't. I mean, what's the bloody point? Anyone I mention, it's going to be Stuart Hall.
Your letter was only the start of it.
So today in the news, Jimmy Savile gets given the keys to the apartment above a boys' home. He also is becoming a part-time carer. It's me, by the way, again. He also becomes a part-time carer in the same home. Les, let's get this. Les. So we know he was a deranged pervert, yeah? Now, all these people knew what he was up to. And these people are still alive. And this is back to not having accountability in the world anymore. These people should still be accountable, because if they didn't let him do what he did, he wouldn't have got away with all that abuse for all them 200 kids. Does that not make sense to you? And they're still out there. And it's still happening today. Even though he wasn't a high-profile person, it still happened today. Gangs, grooming, youngsters from homes and all sorts. It's out there. And it just continues. It's like, oh, we found him. Naughty, naughty dead man. Now we just carry on as normal. It's not. And there are people out there that should be shamed, because they gave him the keys. They gave him an apartment. What do they think this perverted bloody millionaire who is a presenter wants to work part-time in a care home? Is the world insane? And this is back in the 70s. Johnny Rotten said it. In 1977, he knew what he was up to.
I'd like to kill Jimmy Savile. I think he's a hypocrite. I bet he's into all kinds of seediness that we all know about but are not allowed to talk about.
And everyone knew in the industry, just like the Gary Glitters of the world. But let's just keep it quiet. Wait till they bloody die. Anyway, that's it for this week, and here's some news that I've picked. Have a good one, folks.
Our next presenter starred in Netflix's Bird Box, a movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein. You did it. I didn't. You did it. Shut the f*** up.
Do you think I would leave you dying? There's room on my horse for two. Climb up here, Joe, we'll soon be flying back to the ranks so blue. Come on, go. Can you feel, Joe, I'm all a-tremble? Perhaps it's the battle's noise, but I think it's that I remember when we were two little boys.
Oh, God, blimey.